Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. With a lot of hockey and baseball to a little BS, it's the BS Sports Show with Brendan Azoff and Stefan Rosner on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. My name is Brendan Azoff, and joining me momentarily is the one and only Stefan Rosner. We have a great show planned today, but plans do change as the Columbus Blue Jackets and Tampa Bay Lightning are about 10 minutes away from playing the longest game in NHL history. We were supposed to be joined later by Mark Scheig, the hockey writer who covers the Columbus Blue Jackets. But, of course, he's watching this game, and he has to cover it and do his job, so we're not sure yet if he'll be joining us. Later on, we have a great interview with Donald Rosner, who is the owner of Blue Line Deli and Bagels out on Long Island. It's a hockey-themed deli. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do so. But, I mean, this is unreal what we're watching right now. Tampa Bay has 87 shots on goal. They're closing in on 100. Both goaltenders look phenomenal, and one of the best hockey games I think I've ever seen.
I mean, honestly, you don't even know what to say at this point. I mean, we're in a 2-2 lockdown game. Hasn't been that much, open space a lot. The goalies have been great. You look at the shots like you just said, 87 for Tampa, 62 for Columbus right now. But the biggest thing I'm seeing, Columbus, which this is not out of the realm of a team that's coached by Tortorella, 54 blocks, Brendan.
Yeah, in one game.
54 blocks.
54.
They need ice packs. They're going to need ice packs after this game, a nice cold shower, because they got to go back at it again on Thursday at 3. And it's been such a long game that the game before them, Calgary and Dallas, which ended in a Calgary 3-2 win over Dallas, started, I think, an hour and a half after this game started. That's over. And the game's supposed to be played tonight. It has been moved now to 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning.
I think it's been close to 100 minutes, if maybe 90-something minutes since we've seen a goal in this game. The last goal was scored to tie the game up at 2 by Tampa Bay about 30 seconds into the third period. And now we are 3 minutes into the fifth overtime. This is just unbelievable. Obviously, we'll be monitoring this game, and when it finally ends, you guys will be the first to know. But we're going to get to what we have planned so far, which is starting with the Penguins and Maple Leafs yet again failed to move on, this time past the qualifying round. Another disappointing season for both teams. Pittsburgh was defeated by the 12th seed Montreal Canadiens. Most people, I think all people that I've talked to, picked them to advance. Nobody saw this coming. It's a very disappointing season for that squad. Mike Sullivan now gets on the hot seat, even though he's had success there, and not the way that Pittsburgh envisioned their season ending.
Well, you look last year, and they got swept by the Islanders in the first round, and their offense wasn't there. Their team, the team, you got Crosby, Malkin, all those guys didn't step up. And this year, we talked about this, that Carey Price could probably steal one game in the series. He was unreal the whole entire series. He kept their team in it. But the biggest thing is the Canadians didn't have scoring like we do the Pittsburgh Penguins do, or quote unquote, they did. They didn't come up at all. You see that Malkin and Crosby combined for 4 points. All right. Crosby had 3 points. Malkin had 1. 4 points in a series by those two guys, leaders. But you look at what Montreal got. Montreal got secondary scoring from their defense. Jeff Petrie, a deadline acquisition, I'm pretty sure. Or not even deadline. He was traded over, but this is a guy that no one expected from the Oilers, right? He came from the Oilers, nothing much. He's a solid defenseman. He found a scoring touch. You saw Shea Weber get on this team, this Montreal Canadiens team, did something that no one really thought was going to be possible. I know anything's possible in hockey, but it was a hell of a series for them. And like I said, Pittsburgh Penguins only scored 8 goals in 4 games. Yep. You're not going to win a series like that. And Murray, who got the start for the majority of the series or the whole entire thing, he didn't play particularly bad. But when it came down to it, he wasn't sharp, especially in that last game.
Yeah, Pittsburgh GM Jim Rutherford said that you could expect a couple of things to be, kind of shaken up there, and they have to at this rate. Back-to-back severely disappointing seasons. Crosby and Malkin combined for 4 points. Malkin was basically invisible the whole series. So to me, they have to change something. I don't know if it's behind the bench, in goal, maybe try to get assets for Matt Murray and just rely solely on Tristan Jarry, which we'll see what they do. But now you move on to Toronto, who also disappointing, but they played well that series. It wasn't like they lost it. We've seen them lose series before, but this one was just they got kind of shut down in the last game by Columbus, even though they had glorious chances. John Tavares hit the post on a wide open net. And I know Islanders fans are all going, yes, 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 when he did that. But at the same time, the Toronto Maple Leafs played well. Anderson let in 1 goal, but other than that, he was phenomenal in the series. And we're seeing Columbus in this game against Tampa. Tampa Bay is one of the best teams in the NHL, and even they're getting shut down to just 2 goals in 8 periods, basically. So this is a team that knows how to play defense, and Toronto's got to take a look in the mirror and learn how to play in their own end before they could worry about scoring in the playoffs.
Well, we knew defense was not their strong suit. They're an offensive. I mean, you got Marner, Tavares, Matthews, all these guys that are up here when people in Columbus are not even remotely close. But you saw in game 4, they found offense in the last 3 minutes, 4 minutes of that game to come back, trailing by 3 goals to force that game to overtime and then win it in the power play with Austin Matthews. You saw Tortorella after that game. He was not having it. He was pissed, as he should be. His team fell apart. You know what it was? It was a young team with no expectations, seeing that we're going to pull this off, and we're going to beat Toronto in 4 games. And they didn't lock down defensively, and that's how Toronto kills you. And you expected them to rebound next game and play a very strong game, which they did.
Yeah, they did. And Tortorella even said in his press conference, you could tell he was agitated at what had transpired, but he also goes, we outplayed them the whole game. We just had a bad 5 minutes. So they took that into the game 5 and realized that if we play our game again, we're going to be able to shut them down. And they did. And I mean, that was one of the more close-knit 3-0 shutouts you'll ever see. That wasn't a 3-0 game, but at the same time, it was just Columbus wore them down and capitalized when they got those chances. And you talk about how good Columbus is defensively. Toronto has all these high-end powered players. Matthews showed up. He played well. Tavares, besides hitting that post, played well. But they just didn't have enough depth scoring to get past the Columbus team. And if you're going to beat Columbus and oust them in the playoffs, you're going to have to get that 3rd, 4th line contribution, and something the Maple Leafs failed to get.
And we'll talk more. We'll definitely talk more about Columbus later on in the show, especially if we get our guest on, which, is up in the air. I feel bad for that guy because tweeting away, getting to write. I mean, this is going to be a long game recap.
Fingers are going to be tired.
But you look at it, and it's like a Columbus team that's not offensively as talented as most teams in the league. They have to play structured defense. They're doing what the Islanders had to do. You don't have you're not going to score 4 or 5 goals a game, but if you could defend and give up under 2, you're going to win the game. And Korpisalo, he had a great series, and Merzlikins now is hurt. So it's Korpisalo's game. I know in this game, Korpisalo is going off. They both are. Columbus goalie has faced 85 shots. Korpisalo has faced 85 shots in this game. And Brendan, we played in a game this year on my birthday. We lost in triple overtime. I think I faced 70-something shots. That was in triple overtime. And again, loss on my birthday, it probably hurts a lot more than this loss, especially for me. But it's just Columbus Blue Jackets they're so well coached. That's what it is. Because you look at the team from last year, you had Duchesne, Panarin, Bobrovsky, and they stunned the Tampa Bay Lightning, which we're hoping they could do again because it's great for hockey. But you look at it now as they lost all those guys, and Tortorella still got the most out of his players. Yep. And that just goes to show that Tortorella does not get enough credit.
No, he truly does not. I think that he is one of the most underrated coaches of all time. And when he does decide to retire from behind the bench, people will look at his career and go, wow, this is probably a top 10 coach to ever do it. He's taken multiple teams far in the playoffs. He's won 2 Jack Adams Awards. He won it with 2 separate teams. I think he's one of 5 coaches to ever do that. So this is a guy that knows how to win. And he's not the easiest coach to play for. He's in the guy's face. You saw it in the first series with Pierre-Luc Dubois. He got in his face, and then next thing you know, Dubois goes off. So if you can respond to that, type of emotion, then he's going to get a lot out of you. But going back to Montreal, they now face the Philadelphia Flyers in the first round. So after upsetting the Pittsburgh Penguins, they get the other Pennsylvania team, who may be the hottest team in the NHL right now. They cruised through the round robin. They looked like a superpower compared to everybody else. They were whipping the puck around. They didn't honestly look like they had any time off. It looked like they had just kept going from when the season paused. Scott Lawton out of nowhere, 3 goals, 2 assists, one of the more pretty goals you'll see in the exhibition game, I believe, to score an OT against the Penguins. And he kept it going through the round robin. So did Kevin Hayes with 4 assists. This is a very good hockey team, and they look poised to go a long way.
I never like to brag. It's not one of my things, but I don't know if I mentioned it on this show or a different show, whatever. I had the Flyers coming out as the top seed after the round robin. And the reason being was I hate the Flyers, hate them. So I had this feeling that they're going to come out on top. And you look at the stats in this game. In that series, Voracek, 1 point. Giroux, I think 0.
Yep.
Those 2 guys are the guys you look to. Those are the guys like a Crosby and a Mulligan. You have 2 guys on every team pretty much that you rely on well, you're supposed to rely on to do big things. And they dominated without those guys doing a thing. And Carter Hart, this guy is going to win a Vezina one day. This is a young stud that, yes, maybe you struggled last year. Okay, first year, you have Brian Elliott as a veteran teaching you your ways. 2-0, not .966 save percentage, 1 goal allowed. That, I mean, in the playoffs, you need your top guys to step up. And if your top guys aren't, like we saw Voracek and Drew didn't, your goalie's got to come up huge. And he did just that.
He did. And now pause for a second, because we got Korpisalo in this game right now, Metro and the Columbus Blue Jackets. You got Carter Hart, Metro, Philadelphia Flyers. Ilya Sorokin now on the Islanders in the Metro. Igor Shesterkin in the Metro on the Rangers. Mackenzie Blackwood in the Metro on the Devils. The amount of Samsonov on the Capitals when he's healthy. The amount of goaltending depth in this division is unreal. Even so, the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round, Mrazek and Reimer combination looked great. To me, this division is loaded with talent. And we talked about it being the best division going the last couple of years. And it's going to only get better now with the young teams getting the, we'll talk about the Rangers getting the first pick next, but they're loaded on all sides of the puck if they draft Lafreniere, and this Metro division is loaded in the net.
I think that the time off really helped a lot of goalies. Like, you even look at Holtby's stats right now. We'll get to the later. He had a hell of a round robin. He looked like himself. And I think the time off really helped. I think for a bunch of these goalies, Mrazek he had a solid year, did not have a great year. He looked well rested. A lot of these goalies, I mean, Carter Hart was good this year. He was very good. He wasn't that good. Even Bobrovsky in the series that they lost against the Islanders, he played out of his mind. So I think this break off, this 4-month hiatus, really benefited the goalies. Not necessarily the skaters, because what I have realized is we're seeing a lot of penalties.
Yep.
A lot of not even just regular lazy penalties. And that's because, you're going against your own team. You're not hitting them. You're not playing as hard. You get to the real game, and this game is faster than people think. You're watching on TV. It looks, you're on the ice. Brendan, you played ice hockey for a long time. So did I. It's a fast game. And when you get to the NHL level, it's lightning quick. Your decision-making has to be crucial. And if you stop skating for a second, you're going to be forced to hold hook or something because the guy's going to be right by you. So I think that this break, though, definitely goes to the goalies.
Yeah, once you get to that NHL level, you have split seconds to make a decision. It's the same thing you see when you're at the MLB with hitting. All right, you have a 0.2 seconds to recognize if it's a ball or strike, fastball, curveball, whatever it is, and you got to make that decision. So they got to be ultra quick, especially at this level. And now you're talking about this 5 OT game. It's fatigue sets in, and that's the grind of the NHL playoffs. So it makes it the most difficult trophy to win. And the one goalie we failed to mention was Tristan Jarry, by the way. That's the 8th goalie in that division. So the Metro is stacked. And we go to the Rangers now. They win the lottery, 12.5% chance at doing it. The guy drops the ball and prematurely sets a whole thing up with, it was rigged, blah, 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 which we'll probably get to later on. But they do win the right to select first overall in the 2020 NHL entry draft. It's most likely going to be Alexei Lafreniere, 112 points in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League with the Rimouski Oceanic team, 35 goals, 77 assists, unreal player. We saw him showcase at the World Juniors where he won the MVP and also a gold medal. This kid looks like he's the real deal. Obviously, you don't want to put too much pressure on an 18-year-old, but going into a Rangers team that already has Panarin and Zibanejad and Kakko and Kreider, all these young forwards and talented forwards, it looks like a great and ideal fit for him.
See, is Lafreniere a generation talent like McDavid? No. Probably not. But is he going to help any hockey club he goes to? You betcha. Even the Rangers, they need a center. They need center depth, and this guy's a winger. It doesn't matter, though. You can make it work. Centerman is the hardest position at the NHL level to break into as a rookie to dominate. It takes a lot, face-offs, defense, everything like that. But a winger like Lafreniere can go easily into the mix on the second line for the Rangers. I just want to give a quick update in this game. The Blue Jackets just killed off Tampa Bay Lightning power play, and unreal defense, blocking lanes that should have been wide open one-timers, diving. This game's insane, but we'll continue.
Really is. Yeah, I say cautiously that Lafreniere is not a generational talent. He has the ability to come into the NHL and score upwards of 50 points right away. That's not a question, especially playing with probably a Panarin. I think he will top that 50 points, and I think he's more ready than Kakko was. He's rested. Obviously, they've had a huge layoff. Kakko wasn't. He's similar in size to Kakko, too. I think he's 6'1", 195, so he has an NHL body already. And I think he's going to do really great things with the New York Rangers if they go that route. I always say if because they make me nervous. I don't know, something about the Rangers at a draft. They went off the board to get Elias Anderson, all that stuff. But, I mean, this looks like a no-brainer. And really, the rebuild it's got to be close to being complete now. The only thing they need besides defense, which they have prospects coming in, is oh my God, is they need centermen. That's the word slipped my mind because I got this game on in the background. They need center icemen. But I think that if they re-sign Strome and start building up down the middle, this becomes a team that it's going to be really hard to beat them.
Well, you look at it and you think, all right, what do the Rangers need? And it's defense. And like we talked about earlier, if Lundqvist retires, which instead of buying him out, retiring would surely help. But you keep a guy like Mark still on there because he's a veteran presence. Now he's going to play on the bottom pair. He'll play limited minutes while these young guys get a chance. But this Rangers rebuild is very, very similar to the Yankees rebuild, where it's not a fast thing. It's not a fast thing at all. And it is a very fast thing. It's not a few years and all that kind of stuff. So I think the Rangers are really set to be dominant, and it's over. The Lightning just won.
Great. I'm on a little delay.
Just won.
So what was it, a minute shy of being the longest game in NHL history?
All I know is Korpisalo set a record for, I think, 85 saves.
I guess I'm about to watch this goal now to see. But I can't believe this is over.
Shot. You have to watch this. This is wild. I mean.
Oh, my God.
90 minutes and 27 seconds of overtime.
Ended on an absolute snipe by Braden Point, too.
If this game ended on a BS, no pun intended, a BS goal to end this, I would have been furious. But this is a hell of a shot.
This is a huge win for the Lightning. This completely jolts and changes the whole series. You watch the Columbus Blue Jackets right now are like limping off the ice. This loss hurts so much more than a regulation loss, especially in Game 1. They're going to take all this momentum into Game 2 on Thursday.
It's the first time the Lightning have beat Columbus Blue Jackets in a year in playoffs.
Yep.
Fun fact.
I think that this series was similar to like the Rangers one, where the Rangers had swept the season series, but the Carolina Hurricanes swept the playoffs. The Lightning have won 7 straight against the Blue Jackets in the regular season, but had lost the last 4 in the postseason. So this is an absolutely critical win for them.
I don't even know. If you're Columbus, you go into that locker room and just go to sleep. I mean, they're showing the bench right now, the Columbus bench. Just score. Why don't you score in the freaking
man.
It's crazy.
It hit the defenseman up high.
It deflected.
See, that's an awful feeling. But yeah, that's nothing Korpisalo can do. And you look at this, a 3-2 game in 5 OT. These goalies, everything they had is just out on the ice right now.
It wasn't even it wasn't bad goals that went in. It wasn't amazing shots. It was bounces. It was deflections, bad bounce. Korpisalo kicked one in, but I'm not faulting him. It was a scramble in front of his own net. He's spreading out. He literally moved his leg an inch and the puck just slid right up.
You can see the jubilation on the Tampa Bay bench. It's crazy. These are all little kids, but for the first time, obviously this is a completely unique circumstance. This is the most 2020 hockey game I've ever watched. But at the same time, I've never seen a hockey game get canceled in the NHL playoffs because a delay. Because obviously this game went to 5 OT. So Carolina and Boston will play at 11 a.m. tomorrow. It's like a peewee hockey tournament. They're probably sitting in the arena right now because they showed up for a game watching this one end, and now they go home, go back to their hotel, take a nap basically, and come back in the morning to play an 11 a.m. hockey game.
They just got blue balled.
Really, seriously. But again, they got to watch this.
Good news, we might get our guest on this show.
We might get him now. We might have to move it a little bit later so we can get his post-game interviews in. But from 3 p.m. to 9:25. It's almost a 6.5 hour hockey game.
If you bet on this game and you waited and you lost, this guy.
Yeah, CBJ.
I'm sorry. This is just wild. I've never seen anything. 61 saves for Vasilevsky.
85 for Korpisalo.
Braden Point's goals came 144 minutes apart.
That's absurd. That's absurd. See, I'm not good at math. How many games is that? 2.5 games?
Well, you got 120 in 2 games. Yeah, it's about.
Yeah, look at me, Albert Einstein over here. Wow, that is absolutely unreal. I mean, what a game. What a hockey. And this is a game that you're going to be talking about for a long time. And we got a little sidetracked. We were talking about the Rangers getting the first pick, but it's impossible to not get sidetracked when you have something like this. This is history that we were watching. It's got to be the second longest game of all time, and it's got to have just been shy of the longest.
Watch the replay. The initial pass that went through hit one of the Columbus Blue Jackets defensemen in the face, and he goes down like this. The puck comes to point, and he shoots it and scores.
Yep. I mean, it's always a bad bounce in OT that wins it. You just hope that after a game like this, it's not a fluke goal. This wasn't a fluke goal. This was an absolute rip by Braden Point, but you really feel bad for the defenseman. It was number 44. I can't see the name, but just hit him up high, and he if he hit him lower, he's in a position to block the shot, but he's hunched over and just absolute rip by Braden Point there.
I'm very curious to hear what Twitter. I mean, you can't even fault your guys just gave you a five overtime 8-period effort, and they lose. Which, I mean, for the Lightning, this is huge momentum. Just because what happened last year, getting swept by this Columbus Blue Jackets team, a weaker quote unquote Columbus Blue Jackets team this year than we saw last year, they gotta feel good. They should have. Their mindset is they should have won probably in regulation. They were out shooting. At one point, I think it was 40-20 something. They're out shooting them by a lot. And, but at the end of the day, they pick up the win, they go with the momentum, and, Thursday at 3:00, they go back at it like nothing happened. And I just can't imagine what it's got to feel like for those guys. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. And you look at this type of game and just it's got to wear on you. I don't think you're going to hear from any of these players till at least 3 p.m. tomorrow. They're going to just go out and pass out in the hotel. But the only other game, or drink, the Lightning will have a celebratory drink. I can tell you that after this one, probably in the locker room too. But the only other game today was the Calgary Flames against the Dallas Stars. The Flames wound up winning 3-2. I think it started 3 hours after this one and ended way before this one did. I don't know how many people watched it because the whole hockey world was tuned into this one. But Calgary got off to a good start. They're looking to upset the Dallas Stars, the 7 seed, beating the 3 seed in the first game there. And really, it's the NHL playoffs. Anything could happen, but an absolutely wild start to the first day, a 5 overtime game, an upset in the West, a cancellation of the second game in the East between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Boston Bruins, and the Chicago Blackhawks and the Vegas Golden Knights will kick it off at 10:30 tonight as the final game of day 1. After the commercial break, stay tuned. We're not quite sure if we will get the interview at 9:40, but we hope so. It will be Mark Scheig of the Hockey Writers, so stay tuned.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time. It's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs. So I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired, This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see. With technology. To stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. Feedthepig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BS Sports Show. Unfortunately, our special guest interview of Mark Scheig, who covers the Columbus Blue Jackets for the Hockey Writers, will not be happening. He has to head into the post-game presser, which was supposed to be about 4 hours ago, but unfortunately the game went to 5 OT. So the final score of the game was the Tampa Bay Lightning 3, the Columbus Blue Jackets 2. There were 88 shots on goal from the Tampa Bay Lightning, 85 stops, a playoff record for Jonas Korpisalo, 63 shots on goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets, so 61 saves for Andrei Vasilevsky. Not too shabby either. Just an absolute wild hockey game, and we're sorry that our guest can't come on, but obviously he's got a job to do, and this game was just worth watching from start to finish.
You look back in this game when you talked about it, it wasn't about beautiful goal. I mean, the last goal was very nice, but it wasn't about the beautiful goals, the beautiful plays. It was a hard-fought hockey game. Hits, blocks, defense. I mean, this game is defensively driven the whole entire time. 3-2 against a Lightning team that has an abundance of offensive talent. You got a Columbus Blue Jackets team. Seth Jones I think he played over a game of ice time in this one. You look back and you look at the defense for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I know Werenski played a ton of minutes. He's actually he led the NHL in goals for a defenseman with 20.
Yep.
Again, it's just through the defense, just especially the penalty kill. And obviously we were doing the show, the penalty kill in overtime. So I was watching over my shoulder, but you just look at it in the fifth overtime period, you still have guys throwing their body, getting away in the passing lanes. Just the effort. I mean, this is what they expected in NHL playoffs. You're supposed to get the best of the best. And maybe people thought, well, this is a weird year. You're not going to see what you might see like an all-star game type thing where it's going to be offense. No, these guys came to win, and they're going to do whatever they have to do. I know early in the game, Savard got into it with Yanni Gordon in front of the net, bloody, right? That was what, 3 hours ago? 4 hours ago? He's probably already got a scab.
I mean, it feels like Pierre-Luc Dubois scored the first goal of this game last year. I mean, that's how long this matchup was. And unreal to watch, first of all. Second of all, I'm tired watching it. I know if you follow Stefan on Twitter, he tweeted out that he was exhausted watching this game. And I feel like for us fans watching it, you're like, how are these guys doing it? And they're running on straight fumes and adrenaline. And now the Tampa Bay Lightning win this game, and they don't feel tired anymore. They're ecstatic. And then you got the other side, the Columbus Blue Jackets go off the ice like, oh, why did I just spend over 100 minutes of my life playing a game that I just lost, and now I have to come back in less than 48 hours and do it all again? So it's just the grind of the playoffs. And we could, before you talk first, and then we'll go talk about the Calgary Flames game quickly.
I think with the loss, it's different when like you're getting paid a lot. So it sort of gives you another reason to go. Like, and when we lost, it was my birthday, and I was like, well, this day can get any worse. It's not like I have millions of dollars going, oh, actually, no, I'm going to go out and do it again the next night. I don't really care. I mean, obviously, these guys care a lot. I'm poking fun at it. But it was just, I mean, earlier in the game, you saw the physicality. You saw it not even fighting. Like, you just scrums in front of the net. The biggest thing what I saw early on in this game when I was watching was the amount of bodies in front. But not even that. It was the goaltenders adjusting. You saw Korpisalo early in this game making saves outside of his crease, tracking it, controlling his rebounds. Now, as the game went on, the rebound control struggled, but you expect that because, I mean, it's not like these goalies didn't face any shots this whole entire game. They had to battle, and they battled through. Even Vasilevsky, though, the screens in front, he's making blocker saves where he's spreading out to make these saves. I caught Vasilevsky, I'm not even going to make this up. It was in one of the overtime periods. I think it was the first one. He's looking up at the ceiling. He's looking up at whoever he prays to. He's looking up going, all right, hopefully this ends soon. And as a goalie in these moments, your mindset can't be, well, I can't let this, like, I can't F up. Like, obviously they're not thinking like that. They're thinking, all right, next save. That's the only way you're going to stay confident there, because it is demoralizing when you see your team go out there. Let's say you're Vasilevsky, right? And Columbus kills that penalty off. You're like, oh my, if I'm Vasilevsky, you're like, guys, come on, just score. Even, I mean, as a goalie, when I watch my team playing shootouts and it's, let's say we're shooting second and it's, oh, we score, we win, it's over. And you're watching, you're just going, all right, just score, please score. And they miss. You're like, oh God, now I got to make another save. I mean, again, we're not in the mindset of them. We don't know. They're professionals. They do this for a living. And I just think that, thank God this isn't a back-to-back. Now, I don't know what the league would have done if this team had to come back around and play tomorrow. I mean, it's a playoff schedule for a reason. They would only move the games if they couldn't play. For example, the Boston game, which gets moved to tomorrow because overlapping with the TV. But it's very curious to know if they had a back-to-back, if this was a game 2 or a game 3 and they had to do a back-to-back, if this game would be played.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a question that might have gotten raised if that situation was prevalent, but luckily it's not, and the schedule stays the same except for the Carolina-Boston game. But quickly going to the other hockey game that was played today, where the only people that probably watched it were those who had to cover it or fans of the Calgary Flames and Dallas Stars. Calgary wound up taking it 3-2, like we said before the break. Dylan Dubé, the star of this game by a mile, had 2 goals. His second goal was a gorgeous goal, and somebody you don't expect from Calgary when you think about the names on that roster to be the guy that's going to contribute. But like we said, playoff hockey, it's the depth scorers that have to do it. And this guy Dubé came through today huge. And Khudobin played well. Talbot had a couple of iffy saves and iffy goals allowed, but winds up getting the win. And Calgary it looks like this could be one of the series in the West that I see there being an upset, just because Dallas has so much trouble scoring goals. I think they scored, 4 in the qualifying round, and the 3 of them came in a 5-minute span. So not a lot of goals coming from that offensive team, and especially with Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, you think they would be able to score. Just not the case for them.
Well, Sagan didn't play in the last round robin game, unfit to play, whatever that means at this point.
Yep.
But you look back at Calgary, and you talk about some hero that just stepped up. And Dubé, his last goal was just filled. That's a Kucherov type of goal, or a Crosby. That's not what you're seeing from that kind of guy, and he stepped up. But one of the biggest players in this game, and when I say big, I'm talking physically and the way he plays. Milan Lucic had himself a game. The first goal for Dubé, Milan Lucic made a cross-ice pass for the one-timer. Dubé goes on a knee, beats Khudobin glove side. It was a beautiful pass. It got a little tip from the defenseman and went right to Dubé's stick, but a perfect pass. This guy, Milan Lucic gets a lot of heat because he doesn't do enough. He took the opening face-off in this game. He went 68.8% in the face-off circle. He played 14-43. Let's see what other fun things he did in this game, because he had a very, very good game. 2 hits, 2 shots on goal, no penalty minutes, which is big, and he had that assist. But Milan Lucic is a guy that has the veteran leadership, has a playoff experience with the Boston Bruins, and he's bounced around and did really nothing. And now we're seeing he steps up, and his coach had faith to keep putting him out here tonight. We also saw a fight. Kachuk dropped the glove with Corey Perry, and look at Kachuk, and he's a pest. You look at Corey Perry, and he's not the same elite scorer that he used to be in this league. But he's doing it other ways to try to get the momentum because, again, we talked about the Stars don't score, which is just mind-boggling because they have their defense is very good. Very good. Heiskanen is unreal. Klingberg, they're just young, talented, fast skaters, but they know how to play the body and position themselves. And again, Khudobin played great. Bishop, unfit to play. Hopefully he returns soon for them. But I don't think it would even matter because if you're not going to score in the playoffs, you have to play defense, which they did. They came back in this game. They were trailing 2-0. It was a 2-2 game, then 3-2. But you got to be worried if you're a Stars fan and you cover the Stars because you hear it all the time. Seguin and Ben have to step up. And they just don't again. And in games like this, those 2 guys do have to step up. You're not going to get this. They don't have the depth.
I mean, you think about it. They went in this offseason. They added Joe Pavelski and Corey Perry. They have Hintz there. They have Heiskanen on the back end. They have Klingberg, like you mentioned. Their goaltending's good. They should have the secondary scoring.
They just don't score. Is what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. This shouldn't be a problem, but it is, and it has been all year. It's not like all of a sudden they came off a 4.5-month hiatus and they're struggling to score. This has been a problem that's plagued them since the puck dropped in October. And it's something that next season they're definitely going to have to correct. I don't know what moves they make, if a coach gets fired, what happens, but we'll switch gears momentarily. Well, you have one more
thing
point.
I just want to say is if you're not going to score, let's say a guy like Seguin, just for fun, you're not going to score. You can't go 33.3% in the faceoff dot.
No,
you just can't do that because you got to bring something. And I mean, they showed the highlights all day of Seguin doing a toe drag move to the backhand and scoring. Now, that was the highlight of as they were setting up for this game, showing what Seguin can do. But really, the only thing we could see Seguin do is just we watch it on replays because he doesn't do enough. And this was a guy that was traded from the Bruins for Dougie no, they got rid of Dougie Hamilton as well.
Yep.
But Seguin was moved.
I think it was Louis Eriksson.
Yes, that's exactly who it was. And people expected, they're like, oh, he's not going to be anything special. And he turned into an absolute superstar. But he hasn't played like a superstar. He has the tagline of being a superstar. Same way a guy like Taylor Hall does, even when he struggles. They're still superstar talents, Duchesne, superstar talents. But superstars show up. And we have not seen Seguin show up when it matters most. Even Ben. Ben's got to do his job as well.
Yep. And usually you have one player struggling. The problem with the Dallas Stars right now is that both of their superstar caliber players are struggling. And when they both are, that team obviously has a lot of trouble scoring goals. So now we will transition to baseball. Obviously, a lot has gone on over the last week. Less COVID-related news, which is always a positive, but at the same time, there was a brawl between the Oakland Athletics and the Houston Astros, a brawl with quotation marks because we're obviously hockey fans. But it's the one thing that the MLB does not want to be seeing right now. And it was just a massive gathering, no masks. And I think it was the Astros hitting coach, Alex Cintrone, I believe his name is, was barking at Ramon Laureano. They started going at it. you could tell right away once Laureano turned and faced the dugout that all hell was going to break loose. It was like an Amir Garrett situation from last year, and just right at each other. I think it was somebody jumped in and took Laureano down before he got to the coach, and they all just kind of piled on top, and then they played, tickle fight after that. But not what the MLB wants, and Cintrone got a 20-game suspension, and I think Laureano got a 6-game suspension, so that's hefty.
If you watch the replay really closely, you see one of the Astros grab a garbage can and just run. I guess they didn't want any proof on that. I only saw it on a snip video on the dark web. Anyway, you look at this, and if Manfred did his job, I'm not saying this wouldn't have happened. If this is what I think Manfred should have done, I don't know if he has the basis to do this with the Players Association, anything like this. This is what I would have done. You fire the GM, you fire the coach, you fire the manager. They let them both go. Jim Crane let them both go. You suspend the players that were on the roster, the hitters. If you could prove it was the pitchers, different story. You suspend the hitters for a year. No salary, nothing, because guess what? If your coach tells you to cheat, he already lost his job. That's the biggest thing. He has no income now. He's fired. You suspend those players and make them call up players from the minors. You look at Miami, that's working them. Look at the Astros now, and they're terrible. They're not the worst team in the league, but they're clearly, the cheating really helped their output. I mean, you look back at those stats. I remember them showing them. Altuve, Springer, Correa, Gurriel, they showed their home and away stats. Their home stats over 300, away stats under 200 for some of those guys. Gurriel was the only one that stayed consistent. And Gurriel was actually only one of the people to apologize. And he said, if I remember, my memory's terrible. He said, it's terrible, Brendan. He said, what we did was wrong. And even if we didn't go along with it, we didn't do anything to stop it. And am I going to accept the apology? No, you're scum. You're scum. You cost people jobs. You think about the people that played against the Astros and got lit up. I remember there's one guy suing the MLB for millions of dollars because he got called up from the minors, played one game, came into relief against the Astros, got absolutely steamrolled, got sent back down, never played an MLB game again. And guess what? He has a right to sue. Now, Laureano got hit in this game. Was it intentional? I mean, I don't want to agree with anything the Astros do now. So let's say it was intentional, right? If you spend all those players, there's still hate against the Astros. But who are you going to hate on that team now if they're minor league players playing? It's not bad, no saying it. They have nothing. You're not going to see people, look at Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly's not hitting batters or coming close to hitting people in the head and making faces if those guys aren't in the lineup. It shows that baseball, the thing is, baseball needs those stars. Because Altuve, Springer, Correa, they're still stars in the league. But now you're seeing without them cheating, they're not the stars that you think they were. They're not worth the money you think they were. And I think that if Manfred handled this correctly, because again, the players didn't get anything for this. The players got a clean skate, and then COVID hit, and everybody forgot about this. And that's the biggest BS I've seen because, you had a guy in charge that didn't do the right thing. And again, I'm not looking at the Players Association if they're even allowed to kick players out for a year. But more had to have been done, and that's why you would see less of this stuff happening. You would still see it, but again, who's throwing at a guy in the minors that never played a game for the Astros yet? He had no say in any of this.
Yep, 100%. And obviously this incident's not completely related to that, but you're right. The players got away pretty much scot-free, and now they can't even police themselves, which has been done by the MLB for so long because Manfred took that right away once they suspended Joe Kelly 8 games for not even hitting Correa, but throwing behind him. So it does change the whole dynamic of the season. And you could see it in Altuve's average, Bregman's average, and Springer's average that the cheating definitely helped. And they could all just be struggling this year. It could be an anomaly, but
that's BS. That's BS.
Exactly. The year after you get caught cheating, you all are batting below 200. Come on. Obviously the cheating helped. We're moving on to Zach Plesac, who was sent home by the Cleveland Indians because of COVID-related issues. 1-1 with a 1.29 ERA this year. It was his second year in the league. He's 25 years old, but they sent him home. He wasn't following policy. And actually, Mike Clevenger today came out and issued a statement apologizing for also breaking the COVID-related policies when they were in Chicago. He said, my actions put my teammates and staff in jeopardy, and I was being selfish by doing the stuff I did. So he apologized. I don't know if he got sent home or what that situation was, but Plesac did. And it's just not the stuff you want to see. You haven't seen it in the NBA. You haven't seen it in the NHL, but in the MLB, it's been a big issue.
It's not what you want to see, but it has to be done. You look at this is a Cleveland Indians team that's being ridiculed. You know, the logo, they're going through some stuff. But the fact that you're sending home a second-year stud in Zach Plesac because he didn't follow protocol, Cleveland Indians just got my respect, or whatever Cleveland baseball team. You know, they gave my respect because, you know, this season's not a joke for some teams. Yeah, they're trying to win this thing, and the Indians are no different. And by sending a guy home like this, you're showing that, hey, this matters. And other people around the league, other teams are going to notice this and go, okay, if we don't have a guy doing the right thing, let's send them home too. Because again, it's bigger than baseball. We talked about it on last episode. It's so much more important to stay healthy. And Zach Plesac's clearly going to learn his lesson. Not sure how long he won't be allowed back. But if you're not going to follow the rules, you deserve what happens. It's the same way if a kid doesn't follow the rules, you put him in timeout, ground him, whatever you want to do. They learn from that. I guarantee Zach Plesac doesn't do it again.
Yep, 100%. And you look at the Cardinals are the last team that is kind of battling this COVID-related bug. Their series against the Pittsburgh Pirates was postponed. Hopefully this is the last one that does get canceled and that they're able to start playing baseball again so that the season schedule doesn't become completely flipped and all these 7-inning doubleheaders. I think the Marlins, because of their kind of delay, have to play 27 games in the last 23 games of the season. That's just absurd to do to the pitching staff, let alone
23.
Yep, the last 23 days of the season, they play 27 games. I think they play doubleheaders 48 hours apart. So similar to what the Yankees just did, but now on the home stretch, that's just detrimental to a team's chances of making the playoffs. We didn't think the Marlins would have a chance of making the playoffs, but they got off to a very intriguing start. Some team that also got off to an intriguing start was the New York Yankees, and not so hot recently, having split against the Philadelphia Phillies and losing 3 out of 4 to the Tampa Bay Rays. They're 4-0 when Cole's on the mound, but they're 6-6 when other people start. So a very mediocre team other than the offseason addition of Garrett Cole.
So just an update real quick. Remember when I told you Ford was having a day?
Yeah.
Well, his day just got a lot better. A double in the bottom of the 7th. Torres scores. Yankees are now up 9-4. But we'll get to good game for Ford. You love to see his bat wake up because, you know, he's not a great defensive first baseman. He's in there for his bat. He DH'd the other day. Good to see Mike Ford. I know he got an RBI. I know he didn't get an RBI earlier. They scored runs off him grounding into a double play, but you'll take it.
He did. He had an RBI double early on in this game too. Yeah. So back-to-back at-bats or 2 out of 3 at-bats with an RBI double.
Well, you're just showing how crucial Cole is going to be to this Yankee team. Again, like you said, 6-6 otherwise. Paxton's got to be better. And we saw a very good Paxton on Sunday. But then he gets I think it was 3-0 when he's going in for the 7th, and he gives up a double to start the inning. Wow, my memory's pretty good. Holy crap. And then he gives up a home run. So now it's 3-2. Boone leads him in. Another home run right back. It's 3-3. They lose that game.
Yep.
So you look at it and go, okay, that's definitely a big step from Paxton from the start before that to this start. Great. Take him out. I would have, once he let off the double to start that inning, you're already in the 7th. Once you let that double, get the bullpen going. You get it the home run, you take him out. You have the bullpen. You got the strength. Paxton gave you more than enough in that game. It's a tough Rays team to play against. He gave you enough. You leave him in a little. We've seen Boone do this a little bit. We saw it happen last year. You leave him in a little too long, and this is what happens. And again, losses. I mean, they started off so hot. Now they're playing mediocre baseball, and you never know what. I mean, they're doing well tonight. This is a big game to bounce back from. You're doing well tonight. The hitting woke up, all that kind of stuff. The Rays are going to be breathing right down the Yankees' neck this whole entire season.
Yeah, and what you just said is completely true, and 100% sure was that Boone in leaving him in, which was fine because obviously Paxton was pitching a gem, best game of the season by far. And even though he gave up 3 runs and didn't get a win, it still was a great start. 6+ innings, 3 runs. You'll take that from James Paxton, especially with this offense. But like you said, once that double gets hit, you take him out. They had an off day the next day, so there's no excuse why you can't throw a bullpen. They all get a day off. And then you come to today. I think they were up 8-0. Jordan Montgomery pitching very well, 6 strong innings, leaves him out there again for the 7th. Next thing you know, it's 8-4. And it just gets to a certain point where you're looking at Boone and going, how many tough managerial decisions has he had to make so far in his career? Obviously, he's been at the helm of just completely dominant teams. It's not like the Yankees when they were the runners up in the division 2 years ago were not good. They still put up close to 100 wins. And then last year they put up 103 wins. So we're talking about over 200 wins in back-to-back seasons that Boone has. So on paper, he looks like a great manager, but all he has to do is say, all right, you guys go play baseball today. You're just more talented than every other team. And now in a shortened season, when bullpen management becomes critical to all these games, it's 2 blunders back-to-back that's happened. This game, luckily, it hasn't cost them so far because the offense showed up. But we saw the offense didn't show up in Tampa Bay against a good pitching staff, and the bullpen mismanagement really cost them. That series should have been another split, and you take a split against Tampa Bay because you're in first place, they're in second. They're still behind you the same distance. But he cost them. Tampa Bay gains the game.
I just think that this Yankee team is too good bullpen-wise that if they have a lead, they need to win the game. They're going to beat teams. They're going to kill some teams. I mean, I'm not going to call a 9-4 right now, end of 7, killing them because this Braves team could still come back. You never know. But you look at it and it's like, I mean, Aaron Judge, a bomb tonight, a absolute bomb. But besides that, I mean, the hitting's got to pick up. You have Stanton, which we'll get to right now. He's out 3 to 4 weeks with a little hamstring injury. Injuries are going to happen eventually. You lose Stanton. He was batting .293, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. He's now on the shelf. They call Frazier up. Let's see how he does. Injuries are going to happen. They're going to have to persevere like they always do. Hopefully when Stanton returns, he's fine. Odds are he's not going to be, just because that's the nature of the beast with Stanton. He's just injury after injury after injury. But again, you got to win the games you're winning in. The Yankees have been very good at coming back this year, and that's kudos directly to Judge. Clutch as can be this year. And I mean, I don't know what the stat is off the top of my head, but his home runs that he's unbelievable 8th inning and later and hitting game tying home runs or go ahead home runs. He's clutch. Now in the playoffs, he hasn't been all that clutch, but the team struggled to hit in the playoffs over the years. But if Judge eventually slows down, some people have to step up. We saw it happen last year. Urshela stepped up, had a great year, but he hasn't hit well. I mean, Torres hasn't been doing well at all, and we can talk to that for the last minute or so before we cut to the break, and then talk about the Mets, the Mets. But you look at it, and it's who's been a bigger disappointment, Gleyber Torres or Gary Sanchez? We both agreed it's Gleyber Torres because guess what, Sanchez? I did not, and probably you as well. I didn't expect anything from him. I expected around 200, 220 batting average, hit home runs, RBIs. He'll strike out a ton of times. That's the Sanchez the Yankees are going to get. And if that's not what they're okay with, they need to move on. But Gleyber Torres, you're expecting 275 plus, 30 home runs, 90 to 95 RBIs, a great shortstop. I mean, I know he struggled in the past fielding at short. Again, he's moving back from second to short, given LeMahieu's there. But Torres has to pick it up because, like we said, Sanchez. This is Sanchez. This is not Torres.
Gary Sanchez, you expect this from him at this point. I don't think you're ever going to see that 2016 form where he came up and just completely demolished the MLB, hitting 20 home runs in a record pace. I don't think you're ever going to see the 2017 form again, where even though he struggled at certain portions of the season, he still managed to hit 30 home runs. This guy is just, it's not like he's in a slump. He's lost. There's a difference between not being able to hit at a certain point, and then you could see signs of picking it back up. He just swings at everything. If he gets 2 strikes in a count, he's swinging. It's like all of a sudden in his head, he goes, the only way I'm going to get on base is if I swing at a pitch 25 feet outside. And pitchers just go, okay, here you go. We're going to throw it in the other batter's box. We know you're going to chase it. Easy out. Save my arm. It just, somebody's got to look at him and say, can you look at a pitch? Just go one at bat. Don't swing. Just try it. Because you might get walked. I mean, nobody throws him a strike. He just swings over it. But then Gleyber Torres, he got moved up to the 3-hole. And I said in the beginning of the year, although the move had to happen because of his numbers the last 2 years, he was so comfortable batting behind all the big names. And he just hit the ball like LeMahieu the opposite field. It transitioned to a sophomore year power surge. Now he gets moved up in the lineup, and he's trying too hard. It's almost like he knows that at 3 you have to drive the ball, and he's swinging for the fences. His hips keep turning out. He doesn't look balanced on the plate, and it's you got to bump him back down. Put him back 6th, 7th, where he was comfortable. Let him get a rhythm going. It's not like they don't have guys that could jump into that 3-hole. Luke Voigt's the perfect guy. Mike Ford, the way he's swinging at the DH spot, can do it. Let him get comfortable. Talkman if he has to. Clint Frazier if he's playing a game. Like these guys, let Torres get comfortable. But he is the bigger disappointment just because how good he is. And we know, unlike Sanchez, Torres will figure it out. This is not a guy that's going to stay in elongated slumps. He transitioned to a new position, like you said. It's taken him some time to adjust. He maybe brought that defense to his offense, and now he's struggling a little bit, but he really has to figure it out if this Yankees team wants to go far.
So he's batting fifth tonight behind Hicks. He's batting fifth tonight behind Voit, and he's 2 at-bats. He got 2 walks. He has 2 walks and a strikeout. So, I mean, that's a little better than usual. He did strike out, but right now, 9-5 game, by the way. Johan Camargo doubles in top of the 8th. So 9-5 game.
Great debut for Luis Cessa. But yeah, so obviously the Yankees are going to need that performance from Gleyber Torres to pick up and from Gary Sanchez if it's possible. When we get back from this commercial break, we will dive into the New York Mets, who have just continued to struggle, but they do have some bright stars and some young stars, I should say, and Andres Jimenez, who we'll get into, and he's giving Ahmed Rosario a run for his money. That is when we come back on the BS Sports Show. Stay with us.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth partying with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BS Sports Show. So as we were at break, the Yankees gave up 2 more runs. It's now 9-6. Luis Cessa had to get pulled from the game. And just as we were talking about, Gleyber Torres made an error at shortstop, leading to that breakout inning by the Atlanta Braves, cutting the Yankees lead to 3. Obviously, we're going to switch to the Mets, who have their own woes, but that's just not a good sign as we kind of segued that bad inning by Gleyber Torres there.
So the Mets just lost. Their record is now 7-11. They lost the Nationals 2-1. So, I mean, that just brings more bad news. Again, 2-1's not as bad as 16 to whatever happened the other night. The 2-touchdown win, whatever it was. I don't remember the final score, actually.
Unreal.
I mean, it's when they 16-4. Let's talk about the Mets. Mets woes continue as Marcus Stroman has opted out, battling an injury right now, calf injury, but he was taking some bullpen, so he could still pitch. But he decided that he said he has family that, they're high risk. He's going to opt out. And as much as Met fans can be angry with him, look at how he could have packed his stuff. Oh, wait, someone else on the Mets did that in Cespedes. Yeah, he just packed it up and left. So if you're a Met fan, you're pissed. You could be pissed. That's fine. He was at least respectful about it. He told the team he was hurt. It's not like he pitched bad and then he played bad and said, yeah, I'm out. Sorry, guys. He said, change your heart. Again, even if he's not doing it for COVID reasons, he's hurt. Why are you going to risk coming back in a free agent year with an injury? There's just no point. And if this is the end for Stroman as a Met, he would have only pitched 11 times, a 4-2 record, 3.77 ERA, 59.2 innings pitched, 60 Ks. And they gave up a lot for him. And if he leaves and that's it, oh my God.
Yeah, it's not what you want to see for the Mets. I mean, the last 2 years has just been marred by missed trades and signings. You talk about Jed Lowry, who's barely played. Obviously, the Edwin Diaz, Robinson Cano trade. They gave up Jared Kelenic, who looks like he's the next big thing in the MLB. And they got Cano, who was good before getting injured, but obviously is an aging player, and Edwin Diaz, who hasn't lived up to his one season there in Seattle. And now another Marcus Stroman. Obviously, the way the MLB has gone with COVID, you can't blame him. It's not like he did what Cespedes did, as you alluded to, but it's going to hurt. But the one bright spot that the Mets have is Andres Gimenez, who has come up, and he's looked really good. I think that there is no way you cannot play him on a daily basis, especially with the way they've started this season. fielding wise, hitting wise, he's looked extremely comfortable, and he's only 21. So maybe they do have a little bit of a bright young star budding right before our eyes.
I mean, if he continues to play the way he's played, and we'll get to him a little later when we talk about our fan questions sent in, but he puts Ahmed Razara in a tough spot that he's either got to get better in the field or he might have to move positions. But let's look back at the Stroman trade for a second. They trade Stroman, so it comes from Toronto Blue Jays to the Mets. The Mets give up Anthony Kay and Simeon Woods Richardson. That's a number 4 and number 6 prospect. Looking, obviously, if he stays and he plays well, you're golden. It's a kid from New York, from out east, grew up a Met fan, hates the Yankees. I remember the Yankees were close to trading for him, and they did not. They didn't think he was worth it at that time. And can he stay? I mean, if you grew up, Brendan, as you're a Yankee fan and you got a chance to play for your Yankees, and you saw that Betances, a guy like Betances did that, and he saw the Yankees weren't going to re-sign him, so he chose to stay in New York, go with the Mets. That's a different story. But if you're Stroman, you only played 11 starts with the Mets. You're seeing them play pretty terrible this year. I mean, 7-11, it could be worse. It's not a huge, terrible record. You can bounce back from that. You got to get healthy. They have a lot of injuries. But if you're a guy like Stroman, you think he resigns or you think he decides to take his talents elsewhere?
It's tough. I mean, I take this season with a grain of salt just because obviously it's 60 games, a big delay. The Mets are also missing Noah Syndergaard. So if he does re-sign, then you have DeGrom, Syndergaard, Stroman. That's a very good 1, 2, 3. Matt's at the 4. I think that he's going to consider it. That's very, very evident that he likes playing in New York. He's been all over Twitter, very active with it. The other New York team, though, has Tanaka and Paxton that are going to be free agents. They could use a little more depth, especially after an injury with cheaper contract. And they were interested in him at the trade deadline last year. So I wonder if they make an offer. But I don't know necessarily if he doesn't want to re-sign, but I don't know if the Mets are going to offer him the money that he's going to want.
So, I mean, there's not much more to say about the Mets and the fact that this is not a lost season by any means. If you got a guy like Jimenez, you're talking about, you have young guys, try him out. Again, this is, if you're going to do bad this year, do it by seeing what your prospects got. There's no minor league baseball. That's what we're seeing here. There's no minor league baseball. So the only way you're going to see if your prospects have the talent, if they get games. And you're seeing Jimenez. He gets called up, 4 or 5 weeks into the season? I don't know how long the season's been. I've been in hockey mode. But
I don't think 4 weeks yet, but we're getting close. Probably at least, I think, 3 weeks in.
But you look at him, this guy's already getting called up and he's playing. And he's playing quite well. So I think that the Mets, this is not going to be a terrible year. I know the Mets marketing team and PR and fan experience, they got to do a better job because after the 16-4 loss, they send out their emails for season tickets the day after. Now, come on.
Yeah,
you just can't do that. You can't. I mean, it's like in any sport, your team gets blown out. You probably shouldn't be offering people to spend a ton of money to come back and see you play, even when you can't. You don't know where fans are going to be. So bad on the Mets. That was not good. Let's go back to hockey for a little bit. We do have Donald Rosner coming on, owner of Blue Line Deli and Bagels. That'll be around 10:30ish, and then we'll end the show with fan questions. The Islanders face the Capitals. Game 1 kicks off tomorrow at 3 p.m. I am ecstatic. Tomorrow is my 3-year anniversary. Shout out to Alyssa. 3 years. Crazy. But we're going to watch this game.
Congratulations.
We're going to watch this game for 3 hours. Mark that time off.
Well, I don't know about 3 hours after the game we just saw today. You better hope it doesn't go to 5 OT.
I'll have to cancel the dinner plans. Anyway, so look at the season series and they split. But this is a rivalry you have to go back to 2015. My dog just barked. Ignore. 2015. Tom Wilson joins the show, and he levels Lubomir Visnovsky, just levels him. And that started a very heated rivalry. The Capitals went on to win that series. I went to one of the games, and they lost in overtime. Very depressing. I was at Coliseum. The amount of tears just running down everybody. It was bad. Bad loss, whatever. But this is a team that, the Islanders now have Barry Trotz behind their bench, a guy that coached the Washington Capitals to a Stanley Cup win, their first ever in franchise history. Ovechkin's obviously his first. If you look at this series, both scored 14 times in 4 games. They're pretty even. Obviously, again, 2-2 in the series. But you look back and you look at what the Islanders were able to do in the first round. And Brendan, how does this set them up for success? I'm talking more, not even scoring. They scored a lot more than they did during the regular season. Defensively wise, though, you are now going against another offensively talented unit.
Yeah, I think that it's 2 different units that they're going against. One is more explosive. I think Florida is more explosive than Washington is, but Washington's more seasoned. They didn't necessarily have to be explosive in the round robin. They were using that like a training camp for them. So I would expect them to come out firing on all cylinders. You're going to address this in a little bit, but the key is staying out of the box. The only way you can't defend Ovechkin is on the power play. It doesn't matter how close you play him on that side. He's still going to score. I think that what the Islanders have to take away is that they protected their house, which is the front of the net, very well. They did not let anybody from Florida get inside. And when they did, it was one and done. They were able to clear the rebounds, or Varlamov was able to cover up. The few goals that they did give up came off of special teams. So if there's anything that they learned from that, it's that you can't take those penalties, or vice versa. We have to bear down on the penalty kill. I think that that's going to be critical for success in this. I took the Islanders to beat the Panthers in that series. I don't think they're going to do it here, though. I'm leaning towards Washington. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to anger my friends and you that are Islanders fans, but Washington is just they've been there and done it, and I think Braden Holtby looks good.
We love adversity. Islander fans have gone through adversity all the time, and it's all about being the underdog. You're seeing it in the playoffs that, especially this year's playoffs, that it doesn't really matter where you fell in the standings or in the expanded playoffs. You're here now. The biggest thing for me, Anthony Beauvillier is like a Pierre-Luc Dubois in the playoffs. These are guys that they're not the top players on their team, but they showed up. And Beauvillier had 3 goals, 2 assists in the Panthers series. He creates offense, and he hasn't been doing that much during the regular season. He'll score 20 goals a year, but he is, with his speed, his positioning, and the biggest thing is his willingness to shoot the puck from any angle. The Islanders were abysmal this year at just shooting the puck. Brock Nelson had wide open opportunities throughout the year. Pass it up. Barzal, opportunities, pass it up. They were pass first, and when they were struggling, when they were on their 10-game winning streak, 17-game point streak. It's so funny because I memorized that now, like 10 games, and it's great. They were shooting the puck at will. They were scoring. They were playing great defense. They weren't blowing teams out. It was tough games, but they were buckling down and winning. In the playoffs, offense isn't going to come that easily, and we saw they had a mediocre season. Take those games out. Take 17 games out of the season, out of the schedule. This is a mediocre team doing mediocre things, not playing well offensively, struggling on defense when Pelech went down. But you saw Beauvillier's goal in the last game. He was no business shooting that puck. He shoots it. Bobrovsky was not ready. It goes in. Changes the whole outcome of that game. Look at Varlamov. And what he did this season was he was consistent with it. He wasn't making alarming, unreal saves. He wasn't bailing his team out left and right, but he was consistent, stopping what he needed to stop, not really letting in any weak goals, and here and there coming up big when they needed him to. In this postseason so far, 1.77 goals against average, 932 save percentage. And the good news is he's going to start against the Capitals unless he gives Trotz a reason not to during the series. We'll see how it goes. He's got great career numbers with the team that he started with. Career versus Washington, 924 save percentage, 2.74 goals against average. I'll take that. This is a good Washington team, and they've been good since he's left them. But this season against Washington has been a little iffy. He's got an 896 save percentage and a 3.39 goals against average. And you look at it, and he can't play to those numbers. But we're seeing, though, regular season doesn't matter, past doesn't matter. We'll get to Holtby in a second, who had a career awful season, and he's showing up. Islanders defense is going to be the biggest story. They allowed 1.75 goals per game against the Panthers. Again, this is a Panthers team that was, I think, top 8 in the league in offense. They were a scoring team, and the Islanders completely shut them down. The Capitals average 1.65 goals per game. So looking at the math stats, we're no math majors here. That's pretty good. That should bode well. Again, different animal. You're going from a round robin to buckling down. This is like Capitals, a veteran team. We saw it early in the year. You can get to that fun game the Islanders blew in a second, but you just look at it, and they learned one lesson this year, Brendan, and I guess, I'll get to it. They went into the third period up 4-1. The last goal they scored in that game, Devon Taves mocked Evgeny Kuznetsov by doing his bird celebration there, and the Capitals came out hard and scored. Oh God, math. They won 6-4. Ovechkin tapped it off with a hat trick. Stunned. I remember watching this with my dad, and we were like, what did we just watch? I'm covering the game on Twitter, and I came to a point where I just wanted to close my laptop because what that showed was a very immature team. Again, you look back like Columbus when they blew a 3-goal lead in that game. It's a team that thinks they have it and then realize they're going against a veteran team. Toronto, yeah, they have a lot of young guys, Tavares is a veteran. Matthews is a veteran. Marner's a veteran. They're veterans. And they came back and said, this game's not over. We're going to win. Capitals did that. The Islanders then played them again, had a similar lead going into the third, and they didn't blow it. But again, you're going against Tom Wilson, a guy that has owned the Islanders just physically and mentally. They own real estate. He owns real estate in their heads. You have Ovechkin, who didn't do anything during the round robin. A power play that was at 10%. This is a whole new ball game.
Yeah, you could take all those numbers, you could fold them up into a little ball and toss them in the trash, because that 1.65 goals per game that they scored in the round robin, that's not going to be the case. That 10% power play, not going to be the case. That's a 10% power play without John Carlson. John Carlson now is a game-time decision, but in the playoffs, game-time decision usually means 75% he's going to play, 25% chance he's not. You talk about Ovechkin, you talk about TJ Oshie, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Tom Wilson. You said it's a rivalry, which means you're going to get these guys A games. Anthony Beauvillier, phenomenal series. And I expect that to continue. I think he was head and shoulders better than everybody else in that series on both teams. He was the best player. The problem is the Islanders' best player is Matthew Barzal, and I didn't see him really much, right? Obviously, in that final game, he came through. He did what he had to do, and he's got to continue that against Washington, because the Islanders will not beat the Capitals if he's quiet. It's got to be him and Beauvillier. It can't just be Beauvillier carrying this load, because you know for a fact Ovechkin's going to come there and he's going to be ready to play. You know Oshie's going to show up. You know that Kuznetsov's going to be there. And if Carlson's healthy, that's a great unit. So they got to be prepared. You got to be prepared to get Holtby's A game too. And Varlamov has to be able to match it. So they got to come out firing.
Stefan's memory is working quite well tonight. I just remembered this. Ovechkin is a point-per-game player against the Islanders throughout his career. 58 games, 58 points, 39 of them are goals. We could stat check that, but I'm gonna put that down that I'm 100% right there. I'm pretty sure it's that many goals. So it doesn't matter what he did. It matters what he's gonna do. And if they could counteract Ovechkin and hold him to a couple of goals in the series, he's not gonna be held off the score sheet. It's not gonna happen. He's a big game player. He showed that in the past, and he can play great defense, as we've seen. And that's all credited to Trotz, because Trotz got him to switch the way he played and focus more defensively. And it's made him an all-around better player. And it's the reason why they won the cup. You look at Holtby's numbers. His career versus the Islanders, 2.44 goals against average, .918 save percentage. This season versus the Islanders, 3.85 goals against average, .857 save. But in the round robin, 1.98 goals against average, .925 save percentage. And the biggest thing, Stefan's memory is coming up clutch again, Brendan. The Islanders, during the regular season, are a team that I think it's 47 or 40% scoring chances in a hockey game. So they're under 50%, but they're scoring on 64 to 68% of those opportunities, which means if the Islanders get the opportunity to score, they're coming through more than 60% of the time. And that's a reason why they're winning these games. They're not going to put up 87 shots in a game. They're not going to put up 30-something shots in a game. They're going to put up 24 to 28 shots in a game, and they're going to score 3 to 4 goals, and they're going to have to hold on and hope that their defense can bail them out. Like you said, Carlson, game-time decision. We saw Hedman was a game-time decision, and he played very well. He looked like he was still hurt, but it was actually just a high stick. That he actually made a play while also he made a great play while also not even looking at the play, complaining to the refs. And that's Victor Hedman, everybody.
Yep.
But Carlson, like you said, game-time decision. Lars Eller will not be ready for game one. And, people don't think Lars Eller is that big of a guy for this Capitals team, but he really is. And he's a great centerman, and he does the little things like a guy on the Islanders. The Islanders have a lot of guys. You have your stars. Your first line's got to show up, because they have not. They have not shown up at all. Until the last game, they finally awoke. Eberle woke up. It was great to see, but these teams are complete opposites. We talked about, the defense, it's not like the Panthers series, because the Capitals defense is good, even without Carlson. They got backbones back, that they're a good team. It's going to come down to, can the Islanders hold them down defensively, and can Holtby play the way we saw more recently than what we saw this year during the regular season?
I think both things that you just said are going to come true. I think that the Islanders defense will hold steady, and I think that Holtby will be very good. Holtby in the postseason is a phenomenal goaltender. As much as me and you rake on him and say how bad he was during the regular season, he knows how to turn it up. I think the Islanders offense is going to have to outscore the Capitals offense, and that is why I don't like the Islanders to win this series. I think that Washington's going to be able to come through. I don't know how far they'll take it. I actually picked the Capitals to go to the Stanley Cup final against the Colorado Avalanche. That's how confident I am that this veteran group will get it done in this series and going forward in the East. But it's going to be fun to watch. It's definitely not going to be easy for either team. And like you said, Tom Wilson might have to face Ross Johnston coming up, which will be a great heated battle. Stay tuned after this. We have a great interview with Donald Rosner, the owner of Blue Line Deli and Bagels. You won't want to miss it.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time. It's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs. So I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one. Even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. Feedthepig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth? You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stunt man. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BS Sports Show. As we said before break, we have an interview with Donald Rosner coming up right now. He is the owner of Blue Line Deli and Bagels out in Long Island, one of the best hockey-themed delis out there, a huge Islanders fan, and he talks about the series coming up, so stay tuned. After the interview, we will break down the fan questions that have been asked of us on Twitter. We got several of them, and we look forward to getting them, as well as an update on Aaron Judge, who left the game early today. So please enjoy the interview and stay tuned after. So we will now like to welcome to the show avid Islanders fan and the owner of Blue Line Deli and Bagels, a hockey-themed deli in Long Island, Donald Rosner. As you can tell by the background, a huge Islanders fan, and we're happy to have you on.
How you doing, guys? Very happy to be on.
So to kick things off for our viewers who have never been to Blue Line Deli and Bagels, just tell them a little bit about the deli and what you guys are all about.
Yeah, so it's, first and foremost, we're a deli. We have really good food. We use really quality stuff, when we make our sandwiches. So, if you're looking for a good bite to eat, doesn't matter if you're a fan of sports or not, you can come here and get a good sandwich. But, the theme of the place is mostly Islanders, but every NHL team is represented here. It's kind of like a dream project for me. I've been working in this business my entire life, and I always wanted to do something that involved hockey. I wasn't a good hockey player, so I thought, how can I combine my worlds? And, I've been a diehard Islander fan since I was a kid. My family always took me to games and stuff, and it just seemed to make sense. I made a joke that my wife wouldn't let me have a man cave in my house, so I kind of made one here, and it's going really well.
That's awesome. Let's flash back to 2018. All right, that was sour time for Islander fans, but you tried to make an effort in getting John Tavares to stay on the island. Just give us a rundown about that experience. I know you were on NHL Network. I got a funny story for you after you tell us, but just give us a rundown of what that was like.
Sure. So, I was at work one day and thinking about John Tavares and thinking about if there would be anything that I could do. So I was working with Bagel Boss at the time. So I thought, what the heck, I'm going to offer John Tavares bagels for life. And I meant every word of it. And, it was funny. A lot of people thought it was a joke. And maybe it was in a way, but I was dead serious. If giving John Tavares bagels every day for the rest of his life kept him here, I was prepared and willing to do it. And, I put the tweet out and, I never really knew how big social media could be, and that tweet kind of took off quite a bit, and I still laugh about it to this day, but we actually sent bagels to California to CAA, his agent's studio or whatever. And he actually got the package that I got that confirmed. A source at the Islanders confirmed that, which was awesome to know, but the guy never thanked me or anything for it, which pissed me off a little bit. But we sent a tweet, offered him bagels for life, and he declined.
So I'm working NHL Network in 2018, the summer of 2018, and didn't know you at the time. We're not related to Rosner connection. We're not related at all. And I'm sitting at the desk, and I can watch shows set up. So I'm watching NHL show, whatever show, and all of a sudden I see them rolling out bagels, and I'm just like, all right, this is weird. And then I watch the show, and it's you on NHL Network. Didn't know you haven't. I'm just thinking about this yesterday. I go, holy crap! I watched this guy go on NHL Network. Didn't even remember it at all. What was that like?
Yeah, so when all that stuff was happening, there was no hockey on or anything. So I got an invitation to go to the NHL Network, and they wanted to talk about it, my offer and everything. So my cousin actually, who works with Bagel Boss also, we got in the car, drove to Jersey, and we were there with EJ Raddick, and we were just like, for me, that was like incredible. I've never really been on TV before. I was nervous as all hell. And, we were just talking about the tweet. We talked about John Tavares a little bit, and it was a once in a lifetime experience. It was awesome.
That definitely sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you branched off from Bagel Boss. What was your decision, and how did you come to that decision to branch off? And you mentioned how hockey team is always your passion. So is that one of the reasons why you decided to branch off?
Yeah. So, my dad and I had a Bagel Boss in Manhattan. I live in Carl Place, so I was commuting every day and working a lot of hours. Manhattan is just crazy. It's a different world, I did that for 8 years, and I told my dad that I wasn't really feeling it anymore. I just, the commuting. I have 2 little kids. Like I needed to move on, and so we decided to sell the store. And then my dad bought the store in Hewlett from my uncle, and he had every plan in bringing me with him there, and I thought about it, but it just, I was at a point where, I'm getting older, and I had to make a decision to, do I want to do something on my own? And, that's the way I wanted to go, it made sense to me. And, it was a big risk. This is way before COVID and everything. And had I known COVID was going to happen, I might not have done this, but I'm glad that I did, because despite everything with COVID, we're doing okay.
Speaking of COVID, you decide to start, you open this company, and then a couple of weeks later, COVID hits, but you guys persevere. How are you guys able to do that?
Yeah. So, anytime you open a business, it's scary, and then we signed the lease, at the end of last year, and we were building the store and getting everything ready. And we were planning on having a grand opening sometime around like July. And all of a sudden, we started hearing about COVID a little bit, and I didn't think it was going to happen the way it did, but, it kind of happened. So it all happened really fast, and it was just slow here. There was nothing going on at all. So I kind of just thought, if nothing's going to happen here, let me help the community a little bit, and so basically, I decided to try to get in touch with hospitals, and, anyone that I could help, I tried. And thankfully, Devin from Yes Men Outfitters gave me a call with a really good idea to make these towels. I didn't know how it was going to go, but he was like, don't worry, it'll go all right. He ended up selling thousands of towels, which gave me the funds to, send food every day for over a month, close to 2 months, to hospitals and, first aid squads, nursing homes. I mean, we sent food everywhere, and we're talking like hundreds of people per day. So it was incredible, actually. So I think people saw that, they kind of appreciated it, and in turn, people have been supporting me, and I can't tell you how much that means to me.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate what you did for the community. I know I saw on Twitter, paper towels, toilet paper, waters. You were giving it out for free to anyone needs it. So everybody really appreciates that. You've also had a lot of cool people come into your store. Brandon Burke came in, Butch Goring, and others. What was the most shocking person to walk through your doors?
So shocking, I would say Butch Goring, just because it was a long day. I was exhausted. And all of a sudden I look up and Butch Goring's standing there. And I was like, like I've seen him on TV so many times, and just seeing him in person was like, whoa. And, how can you not be a fan of Butchie? He does such a good job with Brendan on, when they're calling the games. And as a player, I mean, he finally got his number retired, much deserved. And so, he's got to be one of the coolest guys ever. Bobby Nystrom's been here, and I've known him for a little while, actually, and he's awesome dude, just an awesome dude. And Brendan Burke, he comes in pretty often, and I have nothing but nice things to say about him. Ever since he came in, people bother him a little bit, like, hey, that's Brendan Burke, because a lot of Islander fans come in here, and he's been a gentleman to every single person. And, him and his family, they're such sweet people and stuff. It's awesome stuff, man. Dream come true for me, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, even as a Rangers fan, Brendan Burke to me is one of my favorite announcers. He's so good calling games. Everything he says perfect, comes out of his mouth so good. Goal songs, everything. But so let's get back to hockey. With the Brendan Burke segue, the Islanders face the Capitals tomorrow in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Rejuvenating a heated rivalry. So, what do you expect to see from the Islanders, and are you confident that they could handle everything the Caps are going to throw at them in advance?
Okay, I'll say this. Ross Johnston will be in the lineup, and I'm pretty sure he's going to knock Tom Wilson on his you-know-what. These guys don't forget this stuff. Excuse me. And I just think that we have a lot to prove. I think the Capitals are a little bit older. They're an amazing team. I'm not definitely not taking them for granted or lightly. But I think that if we play our game and we stay out of the penalty box, I think we could stand with them for sure.
That's the biggest key, staying out of the box. I know Ovechkin hasn't done anything yet this postseason. I know their Capitals power play is at 10%, but as an Islander fan, you saw them take so many penalties in round one, and they should have gotten beat a lot more than they did, and they found a way to persevere through that. But against the Capitals team, the last thing you want to do is give them power play opportunities.
Well, if you remember this season, I believe it was Adam Pelech maybe, or Ryan Pulak, it was Devon Taves. Sorry, Devon Taves. Yep. And that pissed them off. Yeah. And I remember that game like it was yesterday. And we don't want to tease them, man. If we tease them, then they're gonna lay it on us. But I think with Barry Trotz behind us, man, Varley looked really good in the first round, and Florida is a very offensively talented team, and we shut them down. And I think if we play that shutdown type game, that we have a shot, man. We scored 3 goals. I think we can do it.
I completely agree. I think the Islanders have to rely on their defensive play. The Capitals have talent. I think John Carlson, if he comes back and could be healthy, is going to be impactful. But the Islanders have the defense and the coach that's going to be able to stop teams. So it's definitely going to be a big body series, one that's fun to watch.
Before we let you go, any new sandwiches coming out, of sneak peeks of what's to come? Because obviously my favorite is Zamboni, hands down. I love it. My whole family, we're always like, all right, go get 3 or 4 Zambonis for the week. Just have them ready. So any sneak peeks of any new sandwiches coming?
Well, thank you for that. Your family has been super kind and super supportive of us. So I just want to thank you guys for that. I mean, you guys are awesome.
My pleasure.
So there is some stuff in the works. I'm not ready to reveal anything just yet. The white whale is still going strong. I mean, that's an awesome sandwich. For anyone that hasn't had it yet, we use the best chicken. We buy really good beer battered onion rings, bacon and really good gravy. So the white whale, I mean, I didn't know what to expect with that, but that sandwich is just amazing. So if you're ever hungry, man, you got to come try one of those.
I'll be hungry very soon. I'm going to come in very soon. But Donald, thanks so much for joining us. This has been great. I mean, looking at your background, looking at your store, all the hard work you put in, and all the community loves you. So it's definitely awesome. I mean, Huntington's 15 minutes from me, but I don't mind taking that trip and supporting you guys because you guys support the community. So we really appreciate it.
Oh, that means the world to me, man. Thank you so much. And there's been so many, if I could just say, there's been so many Islander fans that have come in here. And without all of you guys, we would not be doing nearly enough to be here. So, I mean, I can't even put into words how grateful we are for everybody, and especially the New York Islanders team. They've kind of embraced what we've done here, and instead of looking at us in a bad way, they embrace us, and it's a dream come true for me, man. I can't even put it into words. It's just awesome. So thank you.
So again, big shout out to Donald Rosner, the owner of the Blue Line Deli and Bagels out in Long Island. Thank you very much for coming on and talking hockey with us. said some good things. Obviously, he's had some great stories. Anytime Butch Goring, Brendan Burke come into your place of work, that's pretty amazing. Quickly, before we transition to the fan questions, according to Lindsay Adler, who covers the Yankees for The Athletic, Aaron Boone said that Aaron Judge was taken out of the game in the 6th inning just to rest after a 4-game series on the turf in St. Pete against the Rays. It's a little bit suspect, though, when you realize they had a day off yesterday. He was wincing coming home after scoring in the 6th inning, and I wonder if it's more than they're letting on, which if it is, it just is another head scratcher how the two guys that looked, the biggest and the healthiest in the lineup are the two guys that just seem to be unable to stay healthy. Obviously, we won't know the extent of the injury until tomorrow when they release the lineup. If he's not in it, I suspect he's hurt.
There's not more you could say. The whole thing was, can he stay healthy for a long period of time? And if he is hurt, it's a shame. And then you just look at it, well, is he worth a lot of money? Blah, blah, blah. But I guess we'll wait to see. Let's transition to some questions. We got 13 minutes to answer as many questions as we possibly can. So I'll start it off. At Michael Rosner 4, how is this game going to affect the winner of the Blue Jackets Lightning series for the rest of the playoffs? So how is this game that just happened affecting the rest of the series? You go for it.
I think it doesn't affect them emotionally, but it does affect their performance for the next game. I expect a slower start. I think Tampa Bay is going to be able to come out faster just because they won the game. And I think that you'll see towards the third period, this game was more, grind. I think that the game 2 is going to become more chip and chase. You're not going to see as heavy a forecheck. I suspect there will still be body just because of the animosity, but it won't be the same type of high-paced physical play. They're going to have to take a little bit of a step back. It's not because they don't want to. It's just because this game's going to take a toll on them physically.
I think the biggest thing that this showed for the rest of the series is that the Columbus Blue Jackets are for real. You look at last year, and you could say the Lightning didn't take them seriously, and they got what they deserved. But then you look at it this year, and the Blue Jackets don't have what they had last year, and they're still competing with one of the best. They weren't the best team in the league again, but they were very strong, and this is a team that should be in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they probably won't be because I feel like Columbus could still find a way to come back and win this series. It's only game 1. They gave a great effort, but this series, like you said, they're going to have to take a step back, not because they wanted to, because physically and mentally, this is a tough one for sure. We'll move on to another one. Mass JMCD 67. I'm confident Carlson will be in there starting tomorrow, but I see an opportunity to keep hitting him every chance they get to possibly change his effectiveness. Does that change who starts on the third line tomorrow for the Islanders? We heard Donald Rosner say it. I'm going to say it too. I want Ross Johnston in there. Ross Johnston is a guy that could go head-to-head with Tom Wilson. Matt Martin has been that guy, but you haven't seen him step up and he hasn't fought as much. The physicality is still there, but Ross Johnston's a new animal, and given the fact that he already has fought Wilson and gave him hell, you want him to be in there, just set the tone and slow him down. I think how it affects Carlson's injury, I'm not sure, given the fact that, yes, you could put a bite on him, hit him. No one's looking to injure anybody, but a guy's hurt, and you want to push at him. So I expect the Islanders to go when Carlson's out there to be physical, to do that kind of stuff, to impact this series.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that Ross Johnston will slot in. And even though Carlson is banged up, it's not just him you got to pressure. You got to hit every single defenseman. We've seen the teams that progress far in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You get on the forecheck and you hit. I think what you do, you don't want to hit him necessarily. Like you want to forecheck hard, but you test John Carlson out by dumping the puck on his side and seeing his skating ability. You want to see how well he can transition. He's rusty. So not necessarily the physicality aspect, but you want to see how his skill is going to be able to translate after being injured and missing the whole entire round robin.
I think, and that's a perfect reason to have Ross Johnston in there because his legs are very underrated and he's quick. And for a big guy like that, he puts a lot of pressure on the opposition. And if Carlson's not looking or head down to make a play, he's going to get hit. Tom Wilson might step in there. We'll see Ross Johnston kick his ass again. But no, I think Ross Johnston still should be in there. The only reason I could see Komarov playing is the fact that when he was in there, the penalty kill was a lot better. And against the Capitals team who statistically not in the round robin, but during the season, that's a strong, I think they were around 19% but you don't want to give Ovechkin a lot of opportunities. So that's the only reason why I could see Komarov in there.
I agree.
I'll go to the next one. I'll just start from here. JB Roz 8_. He says, Aaron Judge looks like a man on a mission this year. This is before the injury happened, or whatever you want to call it. But are we buying his performance thus far, and will he be able to keep those numbers up while also staying healthy? Well, this guy is a wizard at looking into the future, because if he is hurt, then obviously this question changes. If he's not hurt, let's say he's not hurt, and we go to sleep happy and that he's all healthy and rainbows and sunflowers and whatever you want to call it, can he keep it up? I think he can. I think Aaron Judge is a guy that we could see this year in, year out. If he's healthy, I mean, look at his injuries. Freak injury, got hit on the wrist. It's not like he's going. It's not like Stanton where he's getting hurt running. Again tonight, it looks like he was wincing running, or whatever you want to call it. But it's not a guy that gets hurt. It's been freak injuries. A collapsed lung wasn't caused by stepping wrong running. All right, these are things happening that it's just bad luck. I think what we're seeing, I don't think we're going to see the home run rate that we're seeing now next year or the year after. I think he's just getting the opportunity to, it's a shortened season. He's getting good pitches hit. Again, Stanton being in that lineup impacts him drastically, because now it's not like you could just not throw strikes to Judge. You could throw balls and have him swing and miss. You got a guy like Stanton behind him. You have to pitch to one of them, and it's hard to decide who you want to pitch to. Obviously, now Stanton's out of the lineup. We could expect Judge to not see a huge drop-off, but a little bit of a drop-off. I would expect more walks than anything, but I think Judge can keep it up.
Judge 100% can keep it up. This is a guy that's done it before. And even when he's injured, he still put 27 home runs up in each of those 2 injury-prone seasons. This is a guy that he can hit the baseball. He's very good at what he does, and we hope it's not an injury, but if he does stay healthy, he will keep it up. The next question from Matt Levitz 1, my favorite one, is, was the draft lottery rigged? And I'm just going to say a simple answer. No, the draft lottery was not rigged, but I'm a Rangers fan, so call me biased.
I'm an Islanders fan. The draft wasn't rigged. You could talk about the Leafs ball going up and dropping down. The Rangers magically appeared. That's why we love sports. Sports is so unpredictable. Do I hate that the Rangers got it? Yeah. Do I wish it went to a Western Conference team or even a team in the Central like the Wild that really deserved it and needed it? You betcha. But the Rangers need help on defense. This guy's not going to help on defense. He'll be great for them. It'll be a great series. It'll be a great rivalry. Again, you got the goaltending rivalry. Now you have Barzal with the Islanders. You have a new stud in Lafreniere. It wasn't rigged. Let's move on, because we don't have time for that.
So the next question is from Flando93. How likely is it that the Rangers could pick Byfield, Quinton Byfield he's referring to, with the number 1 pick, since they need center help? And it's not an outlandish question. I think that Gorton and Davidson will talk about it, but I do believe that Lafreniere is clearly the number 1 choice, and it's hard to pick against. We saw with the Devils last year, it was between Hughes and Kakko, but Hughes had been the number 1 selection consensus for the whole entire time leading up to that. And it's the same thing with Lafreniere. So I think that they don't go off the board here, and they do take Alexis Lafreniere number 1 overall.
I completely agree. It's not a terrible take. They need the center depth, but Lafreniere, I mean, he's been the number 1 guy the whole entire time. I think you have to take him and figure it out from there.
Yeah, it's a type of situation where when you're in the top 10, you pick the best available. And to me, that's Lafreniere. So again, another question from JB Roz 8_. We all know the Rangers with Alexis Lafreniere are stacked in their top 6. What other pieces have to fall into place for them to contend, defense or centers? And he just nailed it on the head right there. Obviously, their defense is more prospect-wise, and they're going to get from signing people. Keandre Miller comes into the top 6 this year of defense, and I think he winds up pairing with Trouba. You have Stahl and D'Angelo for 1 more year. I think they wind up trying to move or buy out Brendan Smith and then leave Fox and Lindgren. So they're going to start solidifying that naturally. Center is where they need the most help. I think that the biggest problem they had was faceoffs, and that's something they're going to have to improve. Do they keep Strome? The cap situation with a flat cap is going to become iffy. I think they have to go out and sign a veteran guy. We saw a stat during the game today that the last 30 years, every single team that's won the Cup has had at least 1 player who's won the Cup previously on their roster. So I think the Rangers, what they have to do is find a 4th-line guy that's won a Cup that could win faceoffs and sign him to a cheap contract.
I completely agree. Next question from @Luca Colombano. With the Islanders playing the Capitals in the first round, do you believe Trotz can outcoach the scoring ability of his old superstar, Alexander Ovechkin? That's a tough answer, because I don't think he could outcoach. If that was the case, Ovechkin wouldn't have the success he's had, because everybody knows what he does. They know he's a physical presence on offense, and on the power play, he stands in one spot and shoots the puck. If you could outcoach that, then he would never score on the power play. But it doesn't matter what you do. He finds a way to get it done. I think that having Trotz, though, surely helps because Trotz knows his game inside and out. He's the reason why he's become such a versatile player. This guy is a very good defensive player now because of Trotz. And Trotz, again, knows the system, knows what they're all about, try to get the puck to Ovechkin. So I don't think he could stop it, but you can try to contain it, and that's the best you could hope for.
I think that Trotz is the type of coach that he knows he can't stop it, but he knows how to limit it. And especially considering that he was the coach of Washington Capitals and Alexander Ovechkin, he knows how to position his players to maybe if you can give up 3 goals in a 7-game series to Ovechkin, you're going to take that. And I think that's what he's going to look for. But he also is aware that there's other guys on that ice. So I like Trotz to figure it out. I also like Ovechkin to figure it out. And that's what makes this series so great. Next question is from @Azoff Ethan. What do you think the Rangers are going to do for cap space in the offseason? Obviously, I just alluded to, I think they move Smith, either buy him out. They have the option to buy out him or Stahl. That's one of the ways. It sounds like today after the postseason press conference, they told Lundqvist there's only going to be 2 goaltenders next year. And the fact they told Lundqvist that means he's going to be the odd man out. So I wonder if they are looking to buy him out, which if they do, they can't do the defenseman, or if they want him to waive the no movement clause. I think that the best situation is for him to retire. That saves the most cap. But I also don't think Jesper Fast comes back. I think that's how that Jesper Fast not coming back is the main reason that they're going to save a couple $1 million.
And Ryan Strome as well.
Well, I think that they're going to try to get Strome back. That's why they're going to buy out a couple of defensemen. You want to be able to keep Strome and D'Angelo.
And you also said that, Mark Stahl, he's been not what the Rangers need, especially with all the young guys, but he's a veteran. He'll play lower minutes.
He's got 1 more year.
He's got 1 more year, so there's no reason to buy him out.
Yep.
All right, is the last question right here?
Last question, yep.
Last question from Jay Freelander 5. Do you think Andreas Jimenez has a shot at winning NL Rookie of the Year this year? I'll let you take this one first.
I think yes, he has a shot. Right now, it's hard to tell because obviously I know it's only 60 games, but we still haven't seen a lot, especially he wasn't on the team right away. He hasn't limited playing time. But he's playing phenomenally. I think he's been their best player the last week. He's hitting .297. Hasn't left the yard yet, but that's not his game. He's more speed. I think he has 3 stolen bases, fielding everything well. So obviously, if he continues his play, yes. But the fact that the Mets are doing poorly hurts his chances because Rookie of the Year usually is on a team that winds up competing.
And don't talk about his hitting. 293, 1 RBI, 3 stolen bases, an OPS of 740. This is his first year he gets called up. And like we said, there's no minor leagues. This is all you have. You got to show these guys. But what he's doing in the field is remarkable. You can put him anywhere, and he's going to be a Gold Glove type of player. And that's what the Mets need that too. They have a great batting order. They got great people. Obviously, they have injuries right now that really derails that. But you look at it, and he's going to be a great player for them. Like you said, Rookie of the Year is usually goes to a team that really. We saw it. We saw that Andujar not get it with Ohtani, but that was a special circumstance, given that he could pitch and hit. That's just a different thing. But with all these questions, we really, really appreciate them, and this has been a great show. I know the Columbus Blue Jackets Tampa Bay game really took over this show, and we couldn't get our interview that we wanted, but I think all in all, we found a way to persevere, Brendan. We got through it, and it was a great talk.
Yeah, we did. And it's unfortunate because that Columbus Blue Jackets interview would have been good. Hopefully we can get him on maybe next week or sometime in the future, depending on how far the Blue Jackets go. But listen, we got to basically watch the end of a great game together. One of the best games in NHL history, second longest, I believe, of all time. And it's just, hockey, you can't ask for a better start to your first round of your playoffs. Obviously, with the scheduling conflict, this is just, it's going to be a phenomenal season to watch these NHL playoffs. We've never seen anything like it before. Everything that you could usually expect, toss it out the window and just enjoy.
Next week, Wednesday, 9 to 11, the BS Sports Show, guys. Stay tuned. Thanks so much for listening.